The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, new outside bar now open on match days. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm James, I'm your host for this evening, and I'm joined by Dickie Owl. Rich, how are you doing?
Good evening, James. I'm very, very well. How about yourself?
You've had a very stressful evening, haven't you?
Yes, I've been running around trying to sort out bloody paperwork for driving a car in that French France place. And I think I found them all eventually after a bit of a panic and a flap.
Have you moved your steering wheel onto the other side of the car?
You have to do that as well.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah.
What paperwork?
Next you'll be telling me they don't all speak English in France.
We'll have to defer this question to our European expert, Dan Fudge.
Hello.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, mon petit chou-fleurs. I'm concerned as to what paperwork you need.
You need your V5C, so your logbook,
Right.
a full valid driving license, proof of insurance, which was the one we had trouble finding, and proof of ID as well. So yeah,
Well,
I'm
they
Rich.
want you
Hello.
to have a hard copy of that while you're driving around France.
Yes, that's just the documents you've got to have. You've got to have a high vest. You've got to have breathalyzer kits.
European pack. Yeah, you've got to have the pack with the headlight switches and all that, and the breathalyzers.
Yeah.
Don't worry, kids. We'll get into football in a minute. But you don't need a hard copy of all that. You'll be there all day.
Do you know what? I just thought I could walk in and say, I've met Anthony Joshua this week. Come on, let me in. And I'd be all right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anthony Joshua met me, should I say.
Sorry. Anyway, are we all right? How's everybody's week been?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I think that last week it was one of the more heated podcasts that we've had.
And I missed it. I missed it.
Oh, we're mint.
Team James versus Team Fudge.
I'll tell you what happened as well. There was some severe editing of that because you and I went on for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
And,
I think it was longer than that, actually. I think it was more than half an hour altogether that was just me and you going at each other.
Yeah. But
So
I think listening back was some very clever editing there, I think, on Lord Hillsborough's behalf. So well done there, Lord H.
Now, you had a real downer on things a week ago, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And I was like, come on, let's go along for the ride. You never know what might happen. Now, of course, we went out on Saturday. We beat Newcastle. How are you feeling now?
Well, I think what happened was, I think the players heard yours and ours heated debate, and they thought, well, I like the pair of these guys. Let's make them both correct. So what we did, we ended up getting the 3 points. Brilliant. We're on the ride. We got 3 points, and we played very well as well. So both boxes ticked. Let's move on. Let's keep doing it every week. You know what I mean? I thought.
Can we play them every week? Is what I say. Newcastle. That's 2 games we played against them, and 2 best games of the season. Probably with a Norwich game thrown in there, probably. But
Yeah, you're going to berate me for this one, and. And I'm not. It's not a downer. Don't get me wrong. He's not a grumble. We spoke about this in depth on this show, and you might agree, James, that when teams turn up against us and try and go at us, that's where we're at our best. That's where we are at our most magnificent. So there have only been a handful of teams that have gone, do you know what? Sheffield Wednesday, they're a bit slow starting out. Let's go at them. And we've ended up beating them, a la Norwich and a la Newcastle twice. Have we been found out in terms of our tactics? I mean, I think personally that Rafa was a little bit arrogant, thinking that he could just turn up and do his normal smash and grab and his big flowing football. But, why would you not be arrogant? You're spanking the league. Do you believe that when we have to try and unpick teams, we're not the best at it, but when it comes to, playing on the counter the right way of saying it, but when teams come at us, we can absolutely destroy them. I mean, surely you must agree with that. It's not a grumble.
When I was on the podcast 2 weeks ago, Fudge, you said somebody asked, I think it might be a load of it, should we go from the start? And me and you both said yes. Everybody else was in an arming, and they actually did that. But I think you're right. I think any club that comes to Hillsborough and plays football against us will have them all day long. Any club that comes and parks the bus, I think we've been found out and get unpicked really easily.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that.
Is it a case of us being unpicked, or just the fact that they're parking the bus? It's difficult to break down teams that do that. And in actual fact, we found a way to do it against quite a lot of teams this season. And this is a valid conversation because we're going to have this exact problem on Friday. We've done it against quite a few teams this season. We've managed to break them down. Last season we didn't beat any of the bottom three. This season, obviously, we've taken quite a lot of points from the teams at the bottom of the league. But actually, grinding out and getting those results is always going to be difficult for any team. We've seen, Newcastle last week only just managed to beat Burton, and actually, didn't particularly play very well. But it's just about finding a way of winning those games, which we didn't last season, but we have this season, isn't it?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I get that. But we should be unpicking these teams because, we are going on last season and this season. We are the sixth best team in the league. We should be beating these teams. And this is probably where it falls down on the other disagreement last week, that I think we should be better than what we are. But because they're parking the bus, I think that there are times when we're not doing as well as what we should be. Like, I think a good example of that is Wales in the Euros. When they came up against England, for example, they could sit back and see what they could keep out. I mean, all right, they didn't manage it, but they had a very good competition by sitting back. But there was one game, and I think it was the game after England. I think it was it Slovakia, something like that. There, where they came up against a team who played very similar to they did, and all of a sudden Wales had to then take it to them because they needed the points to qualify. So, my point is, what. I've forgotten what it is, but I just wanted to mention that. I've watched a lot of football,
Great, well done.
Great, good job.
Yeah.
No,
just bringing it slightly back on topic then. Wednesday against Newcastle.
Yes, they came at us and we were good.
We were good, weren't we? We really were good. I reckon that was our best performance of the season.
I was talking to somebody before the match in the pub, and he'll name. I won't name him. Remain nameless. And he came up to me and said, "Bloody Hooper! Bloody Hooper!" They're Scottish, by the way.
Right.
Bloody Hooper! Bloody Perdale and bloody Fletcher. Really? And they were the three. Yeah, he slagged them all off before the game, and then afterwards, I was like, when I kind of saw him from afar, I was just gesticulating a little bit because I thought they were our three best players. Hooper, how amazing was he? He was fantastic.
It's great to see him back, isn't it? And great to see him doing what he does. And I think he does go a little bit unappreciated sometimes. And I think we've said this before, haven't we, about how he gets a bit of stick, probably quite unfairly. The difference he makes when he's on the pitch is huge. But Stephen Fletcher, I mean, what great form is he in now? Three goals in 2 games, and he looks like he missed a really great chance, just didn't quite catch the ball early on in the game, and it looks like he's going to score every time he gets the ball now.
His tail's up, isn't it? It's nice to see, actually, because I was always a fan of Stephen Fletcher, and I think I became less of a fan after he signed for us. But yeah. I think what he's got recently is a stronger run in the team, because he came in at the start and we were still finding our feet. We were still cohesing, as we like to word it on this show. And then what he's done, he's got a bit of a stretch in the team now, and his tail's up, and it's nice to see. I think he fits in how we're playing right now. Now, whether that's because Kieran Lee's not there, or because Jordan Rhodes isn't there, or the way, Gary Hooper is an absolute joy to watch, and the way he plays football might sit really well with Stephen Fletcher. That might be it. But he's a joy to watch, and he's the player I remember him being back when he used to play for Sunderland.
Yeah, absolutely. It does seem like he's on fire, and him and Hooper seem to be the two now that seem to be the most likely to form a really solid partnership. It's not bad having an option like Jordan Rhodes off the bench, though, is it?
That was nice to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes
it's, and fascinating, obviously it's a good match from injury, but it is nice to kind of have that. I mean, I think Fletcher surprises because he's, all of a sudden he's crept up and he's that's 9 goals for the season now, and he's hardly played, and that's not bad, It was surprising. I think it's a Rotherham game. That's his 7th and 8th of the season. You're like, he scored that many, but even his celebration was fantastic. I love that celebration.
Yeah, it was good, and some great memes as well on Twitter after that as well. Really good. Obviously, we didn't have it all our own way, and just before half-time, things could have been very different. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen a kind of an attempt from the halfway line at Hillsborough, hasn't it? But in terms of, it's fair to say Newcastle had a pretty off day, didn't they? They didn't do very much, didn't create very much, didn't look very good. But Shelvey was just a league above really for them. He was just a class above, wasn't he?
He really was. He absolutely, everything went through him, and when he had the ball, you didn't know what he was going to do. I think they were a little unfortunate losing Gale so early on, but then again we had Vincent Sasso on quite early on, so it swings and roundabouts for me. But John Joe he's a cut above. But I tell you what, he's carrying some timber, isn't he?
He's getting away with it though, isn't he? I mean, that shot it was inside his own half. Yeah. That was just, incredible.
Goalkeeper had it covered. Westwood had it covered. It's all right. Don't worry.
Yeah. Just. Do you know what though? He was Shelvey was fantastic, and him and Diar, mate. I think I'd be really happy if they were a part of our midfield. I'd be more than happy.
Yeah,
some people disagree with me on Diar.
Yeah. Apparently, he's not hugely well thought of among Newcastle fans just because of consistency issues. That he has quite a few off days. And to be fair, I mean, he wasn't particularly special, was he? Against us, he didn't particularly shine. I think there was literally only one player in black and white that really kind of stood out. What about if I pushed you for your man of the match? Who would you pick out as being? I mean, obviously, I think Poodle got it, didn't he, from Sky? I think this is tricky because I think everyone to a man played well. Even Sasso didn't really put a foot wrong. But I'd pick out David Jones. I thought that he everything went through him in our midfield. I thought he looked really solid. The kind of player that we thought we were bringing in when he came in. He really rose to that game.
He's one of those players that goes about his job really quietly, really diligently, and you don't notice him. He doesn't kind of stand out. He's not that kind of player, is he? But I do like him. I do like Dave Jones. He's never put a foot wrong. I think people just don't see him doing what Forestieri does or doing what Fletcher does. He doesn't take the plaudits. He's a spoiler, I think is the term.
Good phrase.
A spoiler. This is going to sound ridiculous, but
you're going to say it anyway.
Kieran Westwood is magnificent, and when it comes to man of the match awards, because he's set such a high standard of goalkeeping, we don't really think about him in the man of the match anymore. Do you know what I mean? But he made some cracking saves that day, and so he went through periods where it's very easy for goalkeepers to lose their concentration, and when he was called upon, he did the job. You know what I mean? There's nothing he could have done about their goal. But I think that Gary Hooper may have edged him because the way he moves around the football field is a joy to watch. I watched the game with a Newcastle fan, and I said to him, just keep an eye on Hooper. You will notice that there is never anybody near him. He always seems to find like a circle around himself where he's got a yard to take a touch and pass it along. And he's not always looking to sniff the goal as well. He's always got his head up looking for the pass, and I'd have given it Hooper.
He couldn't have come much closer to scoring either, could he? That one against the post, was it, in like a minute into the game?
Yeah, like the first few seconds.
How unlucky is that?
I think it was definitely Hooper for me as well. I think he was my man of the match without a doubt. And yeah, I just think it was tough to pick because everybody played really well on Saturday, and it's the first time we can say that in quite a while that everybody's played. Not just picking one or two out that have done all right. They all played well, and it put a smile back on my face because I struggled a lot since the Reading game. And I'm smiling again. I'm more relaxed.
I do have to reference something though, Rich. I think it was yourself a year ago, the day after we played Newcastle. You uploaded the trendy TBT app, Time Hop, and and I think you've written a status a year ago saying 6 games to go. It's all in our own destiny.
Yes.
Come on Wednesday or something like that. And,
yes, I
was
did.
that
Yes.
before or after the Newcastle game? It would have been before.
That was. It came up on my time hop last week, but it was from a year ago, wasn't it? So I just said. I think my tagline was "Things don't change, do they?" It's same old, same.
Exactly the same. Yeah. And so, glass half full, brilliant. We're in the playoffs. Yeah. Glass half empty. We've not got anywhere in a year, essentially. But I thought that was quite apt. So fingers crossed we can have a decent running for the season. But I did want to ask you two guys, how do you feel about playoffs, and how do you feel about Fulham, the last game of the season?
It's going to go down to Fulham, isn't it? I think.
I really hope it doesn't. I hope we've got it tied up before then. I mean, from a neutral point of view, it would be amazing if it was a winner-takes-all game at Hillsborough on the last day of the season, but we don't have an amazing recent record, do we, in winner-takes-all games on the last day of the season.
It's a guarantee. If you can say it's going to the last day and you'll win with a last-minute goal, how ecstatic would it be? But it's just getting there. That's the horrible bit, isn't it?
We'd all take that, wouldn't we? I mean, it would be a really nerve-wracking day if it came down to that. It really would. We know that Fulham are dangerous. To be fair, they've had a little bit of a wobble of late. We gave them plenty of opportunity to overtake us, which they didn't take. They got the result that they wanted, which you'd expect them to do against Ipswich on Saturday, and maybe they probably didn't expect us to then go on and beat Newcastle. So everything flips round again now, doesn't it? And pressure's back on them. Really, they've got to try and overtake again. I don't know how I feel about any of it. I hear people who are saying, "Oh, we should be aiming for 4th or 5th now." Similarly, we're looking over our shoulder. It's only a 2-point gap, and that we could in 24, 48 hours time we could be back down in 7th. I mean, it's tight. So I don't know. At the moment, in my mind, I just want to concentrate on us getting into the playoffs. I think I'll worry about the rest of it as and when it happens, if that makes sense. It's just one worry at a time in my head.
Exactly.
Let's just take it as it comes, and that's probably the best way to go. To be fair, there's nothing we can do to influence it. So I want to say enjoy the ride, but it might be a shit ride.
But that's what it is, isn't it?
The last 10 minutes against Newcastle were that same. It's the Wednesday way. Squeaky bum cream, supplied by Lord Hillsborough in plentiful supplies.
I think he's used up most of his reserves now.
That's a different kettle of fish, though, isn't it?
The last few weeks.
What's been using it for?
It is a different feel, though, isn't it, to a year ago? Because I think a year ago we were in the ascendancy, and it just felt like we really felt like it was meant to happen. And I think because this year, this season's had a different kind of path to it, and it has followed a different direction, and so it just feels so much tighter and so much closer. And at the moment, we don't know whether or not we could finish 4th, we could actually finish 10th. And neither would probably surprise us that much with how the season's gone. We've been brilliant at times, and we've been pretty awful at times. So it's five games now, and it all just comes down to grinding out those results, doesn't it? And however we do that, and we've got to have faith in Carlos to be able to do that.
We should talk when, not if.
On that subject, there's been playoff news this week, hasn't there? Because they have announced so they've announced when the playoff games will be, but not who will be in each of those games.
I feel like we need a jingle for this.
So,
playoff news!
Yeah. All right. So game A, the first leg, is Saturday, is it 5:30 kickoff?
Yeah.
Game B is Sunday, 12 noon kickoff. So I think we can probably all agree which game we want to be. But we don't know which position we need to finish in order to get that game. So, who knows? My inkling on this, by the way, is that they are waiting to see who finishes in what position before deciding what it's going to be. Because if it's us versus Leeds, you can guarantee that we will be the Sunday 12 o'clock kickoff. And if it's Leeds against Huddersfield, you can guarantee that will be basically whoever gets Reading will be the Saturday game.
And whichever way the SAG will ever say as well. So
Oh yeah, we'll come on to that in a bit, won't we?
We'll come on to that
We will.
later. Yeah.
The other bit of news this week about the playoffs is that the playoff semi-finals, I assume the playoff final as well, but certainly the semi-finals will be the first championship games ever to have goal line technology, which I think I'm right in saying will be at every championship game next season, but a little bit early. It will be in the playoff games as well.
I learned something new.
Yeah, that's great. But this kind of whole thing reminds me of, I think it was, 2015 when they brought out that you could pay by car tax via direct debit. You kind of think, well, where's it been? You know what I mean? Why has it took this long?
Yeah.
I still don't fully understand how it works. Do they have like lots of cameras set up that can...
You're talking about direct debit for your car now, or are you talking about the goal line?
Sign it with your V5
I've just sussed that bit. Yeah, I'm all right with that
now. I think there was talk initially. It was a sensor inside the ball, but that started to manipulate where the ball went. So now there's something in the ball that goes with the sensors over the line, as far as I'm understanding. And then there's also this uses similar technology as Hawkeye in tennis, so you get like a computer reconstruction of it all as well, which is lovely to see.
What happens, right, if they lose the ball? Because I would understand, right? And then it happens 2 or 3 times, and you have to go out then. You have to go and find any old ball. So there might be a kid in the stand that chucks his ball. It's happened at Allen recently. This is why I'm saying it. And you get a ball chucked on, and he hasn't got the thing inside it. What happens then? What happens then, James?
Then what you do, you sit there and go, why are you taking the ball to the football, you bloody idiot? What's the matter with it? What do you think they're going to do? Here, gives that ball, we've kicked ours on the fence.
Does it have a sensor in it, though? My understanding was that it was all just done by camera.
That was the initial technology, to have something in the ball, but I don't think it is anymore. I think it's more Hawkeye style technology where it's done with GPS and geographical location and all very complicated, highfalutin things that we don't know enough about, hence us doing this show and not working in, physics.
Yeah.
But,
Would you like to know? When the circuit in the ball crosses the goal line, the electromagnetic field changes, and the computer automatically notifies the referee by a radio signal transmitted to his or her watch. There we go.
So there is a sensor in the ball. Wow.
Something in the ball.
Well, now we know. So yeah, if we make it to the playoffs, then we'll get first-hand experience of goal line technology for the first time at Hillsborough, which will be exciting. Do you think SAG will be all right with that? Do you think they'll allow that? Sticking extra cameras and stuff.
There'll be too many balls around the goal area. There'll be a ball around, possibly nearer the crowd than it should be. So I think it'll be a whole no for them.
We'll have to reduce attendance for that just to take account of it.
Here's a question. Where would you find all of the following in one place? Chairs, tables, beer, Vic, James, more beer, Dick Yow, Eddie, more beer, and the rest of the Wednesday week gang. That's right, it's the Riverside Cafe's new outside bar. All of your favourite lagers, ciders, soft drinks and hand pump ales are now available outside. Come and see the gang and give it a try. The Riverside Cafe's new outside bar. Now open on match days.
I mean, this brings us on to our next topic of conversation tonight, which is the steering group meeting, which took place at Hillsborough on Wednesday evening. Now, myself and Rich, we were fortunate enough to be there, along with kind of various other supporters groups. There were, around about 30 people altogether that attended, along with the chairman, Mr. Chansiri. There was the chief operating officer, Joe Palmer, and the ticket office manager, Alistair, and Trevor, who's the director of communications, who were kind of on the top table, and lots of things talked about. So let's get the headlines out of the way first. And I say let's get this out of the way. I've got a feeling that we're going to be talking about this for many months to come. But first subject to cover, there will be no blue and white stripes next season. It will be effectively the Arsenal shirt, but in blue and white. So it will be solid blue shirt with white sleeves.
And a white collar.
Brilliant.
Like it.
You've mentioned this before, haven't you, Fudge? You've suggested before that you'd like to see it.
Yeah, I would. I think that we get too bogged down in stripes, and I know that we used to play in hoops as well, and people are going, why are we playing in bloody hoops? But I think what we're forgetting is that colours are colours, and there must have been a time when Wednesday fans back in what I think it was 1973, 72 said, well, hang on a minute, why have we gone to stripes? And they must have had the same feelings that a lot of the Wednesday fans have done on Twitter now, going, we play in stripes, why have we lost the stripes? I think we need to also think about there's some element of the fact that nobody wears stripes anymore, as daft as it sounds. So when was the last time you bought yourself a thick striped shirt, for example, for work? Or, you know what I mean? Even Sheffield United tried to get away from their stripes, and a good few other clubs have done it. And we've got a beautiful kit this year because we haven't got the stripes, because they are, as far as modern day fashion is concerned, pretty bloody hideous. But I am really happy if you can imagine that kit with even with long or short sleeves and the modern cuts and things like that, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. And if I hear Ipswich kit again, I'm going to set fire to something.
Oh, God's sake, yeah. I mean, when James Hargreaves, our friend from Owlstalk, did they do a podcast anymore? Have they just given it up?
From where? Sorry, anyway, from Owlstalk.
Owlstalk.
I remember that.
Yeah. When he works at the club, I know his kind of major thing was, what can you do with stripes every year? Everyone wants the same stripes, but that means the kit doesn't change. And I think he found it a constant kind of battle having spoke to him about it, to literally come up with something different, something fresh, something new, like apart from add a collar or take a collar off or, make buttons down or whatever, but it was the same old stripes.
Hang on, sorry, Rich.
I'm all right with it.
I agree with you there, Rich. I'm sorry. But as daft as it sounds, I think you can do more with stripes than, let's say, what Liverpool do with their kit year in, year out.
That's true.
This is the same thing every year, no?
Yeah.
But that's the problem you're going to have with football kits, isn't it? Essentially, that's what you're going to do. And we have tried to do this with stripes. We've done these stripes. I mean, the one in 2011, 12, the one with the Volkswagen logo on the front, I thought it was beautiful. I genuinely loved it.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
But there's only so much you could do with it, and I think a change is nice, and I think I think it might surprise a few people. It's a retro style with a retro badge, and I think go on, give it a go.
The most important thing for me is it's blue and white, and that's the big thing for me. I hope, and I'm pretty sure, listening to Mr. Chancellor and the times I've heard him at the steering group, he'd never go down the kind of route of changing colour. I had some people trying to wind me up recently who funnily enough, supported the side of the other side of the other third of the town, city. They were trying to wind me up. They're going to change it, but I don't think he'll change colour. I think blue and white. I think he would have horrendous kind of pushback from the fans if. And I think generally people are all right, with it as it is. But yeah, there's still the Ipswich mention that I've seen around. There's still the people that just love the stripes for whatever reason. So
Hashtag stripe wankers.
The other thing to mention about the kits is that, so the way this is phrased is that we will be manufacturing our own kits. We'll be making our own kits. Now, let's just clarify that. We're not going to have, some people sat, on the pitch during the week that have got a little sewing machine actually making the kit or anything like that. It just purely means that we are... Yeah, purely means that we're sourcing it ourselves. So they'll actually be made in exactly the same factories that the Umbro kits, that the Adidas kits, that the Sondico kits are made in now. The difference is that we just design the kit ourselves and we deal with the factories ourselves, and we get it produced ourselves, which is something that I think Southampton did a couple of years ago for just for one season. So the good thing about this is that it gives us, there's a few good things about this. Firstly, obviously it means that ultimately the club will make more profit from the shirts than they currently do, because there's no middleman that they've got to fork out money to. It also means, and this is quite a hard stat to get your head around, at the moment the club has to place an order for shirts 6 months before it receives them. So if we're running a bit low on small and we place an order for new ones, it will be 6 months before they arrive. So it brings that lead-in time. Yeah, it brings that lead-in time right down. So we can keep it in stock the sizes that we need to have in stock. It just generally gives us a lot more control, doesn't it?
I think it's great. Bristol City do it. They have their own logo, Bristol Sport, I believe it's called, and they have it with their. And I've used Bristol City all the time, don't I, as a model. But they sponsor a volleyball team, a lacrosse team, a hockey team, and all this, and their kit is all made by Bristol Sport, and it's something just like you say that generates more profit. And again, like you say, we haven't got to wait 6 months for shirts.
Here's my theory on the kit. The kit will be made by Chancery Kits Limited, for example.
Oh, okay.
They will then pay Sheffield Wednesday X amount of pounds to take their kit. Financial fair play.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There we go.
Another
is that
way
the
round
theory? Is that the theory? Yeah.
Financial
Is
fair
that,
play.
is that the way to bring commercial income into the club? And it's, he's created a business to make kits. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Good spot, that, Rich. Good spot.
Thank you.
I like it. I like it. So some other headlines from the steering group. Turnstiles will be going cash free. I'm guessing from next season, although there wasn't actually a definite date given. So around the time that we're looking to make all the kiosks inside the ground cash free, the turnstiles will also go cash free. However, there was a nod towards a kind of a concession whereby you will be able to top up your season ticket or your membership card with cash that you can then use at these kind of contactless places rather than having to use a contactless card. So it would mean that you'd have to go, for example, into the club shop beforehand and you give them £50 in cash and they top your membership card up with £50. So people that don't want to have to use a credit or debit card, they are looking at kind of a concession so that you don't have to.
Joe described it as a contactless, a cashless stadium, didn't he?
Yeah.
Is what they want. Because
they mentioned as well that they've had
past.
basically money that's been nicked. So and he suggested that it was actually significant amounts and a real issue, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It's a mess. It's just a mess. There are some stadiums that do it, like Southampton, for example. You can pay with contactless card, your own bank card, or you can have this card system that you sign up for. Then you get a little card and pay for things. There is literally no difference between the two. I don't understand why Southampton have their own going on. Or if you go to stadiums across Europe, and this is where it's an absolute disgrace. I mean, it is crap. You have you buy little tokens, little plastic tokens from a man that's walking around, and these are the people entrusted to hold the cash, and you buy them from them and exchange the tokens for food and for drink and beer and that on the stadium. But where it falls apart is, for example, for £10 you can buy 10 tokens, but a beer will cost £4.50, and then these chips will cost £4.50, and then a beer will be another £4.50, and you can't buy two because the value's not the same. Oh, it's just an absolute nightmare.
I know the deal. Yeah.
If you've been to them, but if you're just paying contactless, mint. I mean, are there many people that don't have contactless cards anymore?
Yeah,
I think we'd be surprised. There were
the older generation, I think, might be your area. But I mean, he said it was
phrasing it, don't you?
I think the figure was 60% of transactions in the stadium now are going through card. So that's quite a high jump. It's only been in a couple of months or so.
I was over the moon. I mean, I'd pay for everything using contactless if I could. In fact, I'd pay for everything using Apple Pay if I could, and then I don't need a wallet. I don't need to take a wallet out. Just take my phone out and job done. But I know, not everyone's like that, and it's nice that the club are looking at some kind of backup option for people that really don't want to go down that route.
The fact they do it now, I used to come to the match with, I have money, like 50 quid in my wallet or whatever, and once I'd spent it, that was it, kind of done. But now I'm actually spending money in the stadium now, by literally, I can walk in and one of the kids wants a drink or a chocolate bar, and it's just easy to walk up, get a chocolate bar, boom, walk away. Don't even have to get me, I can get my card out, and that's it. It's convenience, and that's what it's all about,
An interesting point with regards to turnstiles, even though they will go cash free, we will still have a little guy inside the turnstile that takes your card off you and scans it and pushes the little lever thing with their foot to let you through. We're not going to go to one of these automated turnstile systems, and there are a couple of reasons kind of given. One is that it's a bit more difficult to spot people that are sneaking through on a under fives ticket when they're 40. But Mr. Chancery himself actually said, didn't he, that another one of the reasons is he doesn't want to have to lay off the staff that currently do the turnstiles, which was a really nice thing to say. thinking about other things on the subject of catering, there was a lot of talk about having some kind of pop-up kiosks for local food providers, and
Is that about the time when it got a bit boring
like
and a bit dull, and I started snoring a little bit? Was it that point?
Yeah. That's when you started like writing me notes and passing them to me. I'm like, Rich, I'm trying to concentrate here.
I love you, James. All
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Big news for, and this is really relevant for us because we know that we get quite a lot of overseas listeners to the podcast who like to keep up to date with what's happening. That next season, I think, we'll become the first club in the Football League that will stream our home games live on the internet to overseas fans. So if you live abroad,
overseas only.
Overseas only. You won't be able to do it in this country, and I think that's Football League regs, isn't it, that stops you from doing that. But if you live overseas, you'll actually be able to watch the home games live through the Wednesday Player service. It will be more expensive than the current Wednesday Player subscription is. There'll be kind of like a tiered system. If you want to watch the games live, you're going to have to pay a bit more. But I tell you what, I mean, if you live in Australia, where you probably can't even watch the games that are live on Sky, I mean, that's going to be brilliant, isn't it, for fans around the world? That's going to just re-engage so many people.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that. I mean, I remember Joe Cram, who lives in South Africa. He's very excited about the whole thing. There's our friends from New York. You've got James and Paddy. They're very excited about the whole thing. Does anybody else think though that some of these people are really clever when it? I mean, I've got my PlayStation set to American Netflix because it's better. There are ways around it through proxy servers and things like that. Surely, does that
absolutely?
Not,
I'm just thinking, just get one of our US friends to set up a VPN that we can switch on, and we're sorted, aren't we?
Look at you with Flash VPN, yeah.
We're talking proxy servers of VPN now.
VPN with the ITA onto the USD, yeah.
What? Yeah, I think it's great, and I think living in Southampton and knowing a man, I might be able to watch it myself.
Yeah, to get it on Cody.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to talk about my two kind of highlights of the night. There were lots of things, and there were two particular things that kind of... And one of them was from a guy, I think he's from the cricket club, I'm pretty sure he is. And he was talking about his kids at one point and the kids. And he also mentioned... about that song, as he called it, as I shouted out, "If you don't funky bounce," and he was worried about his kids hearing the actual words to the song. So what he does, he gets up and he jumps with them so they can't hear the words, and they sing "If you don't jump and bounce," which is fine with the kids. But then he went on to actually ask the club if they could put out a request to fans to stop them swearing in "If you don't fucking bounce." And I think the whole room was like, "What?"
Even even the top table were a little dismissive of it, weren't they?
Yes. Anybody that thinks their kids aren't going to learn to swear at football needs their Eid looking at. Even I know my kids have learned to swear. After Riley's wave, shall we call it, at QPR 2 or 3 years ago, he certainly learned to swear at football, even though he didn't know what he was doing.
After his wave?
Yeah, he basically had a QPR fan. Have I not told you this story? It was a day when McGoban, the whole Joey Barton penalty kind of did. I can't think we lost 2-1 in the end, but anyway, Riley got up before the match, and you know how tight it is at QPR, and looked over to QPR fans and basically did the wanker sign at them. And I'm like, Riley, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he absolutely, genuinely, no idea what he was doing. He just thought, well, they were doing it to me, Dad, so I was just doing it back. Fair play. So then I had to go through and explain what a wanker was. So that was a little bit more difficult.
It's not a conversation really you want in the away end at Loftus Road, is it?
Dad, where do babies come from? Whoa! It's one of those type of moments for me.
How old was he at the time, Rich?
He would be about 6.
Brilliant.
Do you know what? It really warmed my heart when he did it. I felt proud dad that day. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's one of them though where it's unfortunate and it's a hotbed of emotion a lot of the time, and people, I know I do it. I use a lot of swear words for emotion and outpouring and to emphasise a point or to drive home a bloody good punchline. But it is a side effect of football. especially in the environment it is. And I think my mate Ash, who takes his boy Lewis, you guys have met him, to the football. They have a rule that they don't repeat anything outside the football in life, as it were. So if when I see you again at the at Hillsborough, and we'll bring Ash and his boy, remember to ask me or ask Lewis what the rule is about football, and he will chant back, "Don't repeat what Uncle Dan says at football." I love that. I love that. That's my input into my godson there.
My other highlight of the evening, the funniest bit of the evening, was at the end when we did a bit of product testing for Joe Palmer. So he brought an energy drink out, which is a product of Thailand. And they're talking about becoming a partner for next year, and he wanted to get everybody to try it. So he handed all the cans out. We all kind of plastic cup to put them in, and one by one, the cans got opened and exploded all over the bloody place. Every single can. In fact, when Kieran opened at the side of us, it kind of jetted across three people, across me, James, and nearly at the guy at the side of him, not far off as well. We proper got sprayed in energy drink. And what was the name of it? Black. What was it called again?
Black Power. Black
Power, and it's
never.
It's called Black Power. Well, he said the name will change, but it was called Black Power. And it keeps you going for something about lasts for hours.
Black Power lasts for hours. I've got DVDs on a similar theme, but probably slightly different story there.
Yeah, I did see your eyes light up when that came out. So they were my two highlights. It was the I'm going to say stupidity of the question, and then the funny. It just shows my sense of humour, I think.
It was funny. I think the thing about the steering group is that, we could sit here for probably another 2-3 hours and talk about everything that was discussed. There was a lot discussed about the capacity at Hillsborough, problems with the safety advisory group. I know that the COP end, particularly Cleggy, are very hot on this. They've started a petition today, and I think anyone that's kind of interested in that, look up the COP end on Facebook. I think that's something that they're really driving. Although I think it's fair to say that we're probably all absolutely behind them in that sense. The club very frustrated about issues regarding capacity and number of seats they've been able to give out this season. Tons of other things that were talked about. The Jordan Rhodes deal. He is definitely our player. He belongs to us, was the exact phrasing of the chairman. There was stuff talked about in terms of George Hurst and his contract, David Hurst and his position at the club, which he no longer works for the club. There was a lot talked about merchandise. We could literally spend the rest of the podcast and probably another one or two, couldn't we, talking it through. What I would say is that I wrote I think a relatively thorough kind of lowdown of everything that was said at the meeting, which you can find on our website, which is thewednesdayweek.co.uk. And our good friend Malcolm, who also goes along to these meetings, he tweeted I think probably slightly more than the stuff that I reported on as well, because there were a few that I thought I'm not bothered about that. I'm not going to bother including that. So between our website and Malcolm's Twitter, if you look at Malcolm Fox on Twitter, you can get an absolute, you can get a proper lowdown of what was said. Now, what kind of I wanted us to just touch on slightly was kind of like, the behind the words, the kind of the mood and the feel that you get, because I thought that Mr. Chansiri might seem, five games to go. We're sixth in the league. We've got a couple of teams, hot on our tails. I thought, we might see a slightly tense, slightly stressed chairman. But he was cool as a cucumber, wasn't he? He was laughing and joking. And, every time we have one of these meetings, I think his English seems to have improved. He seems a lot more confident talking about things. He seems more confident being open and being honest. And I thought, it was a really productive meeting and just reminded me of how much different the way the club is run now to previous regimes, because I'm going to pick out Joe Palmer here as being an absolute example of that, because this is a guy that is so open and so honest, and any question that gets asked, you see him either ready to answer it or scribbling it down on a bit of paper thinking, I've not thought about that, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think they genuinely do take on board what we think. I mean, the question was asked about the catering. Should we bring it in house? And then along the whole. I'm not saying we did make the final decision, but they asked the supporters, and I think a couple of things that Mr. Chansiri said when the stadium got mentioned, the West Stand, etc., and the it's got boobs, all that kind of came up. And one of the things he said about the stadium was, when it comes to a time when we need to redevelop, which won't happen until we're in the Premier League, he'll discuss it with the fans. New stadium or do we redevelop? His personal opinion, he said, was to move. But he said, if you fans want to stay here, we'll stay here. If you want to move, we'll move. And that, you can't ask for anything fairer, I don't think, than that. That he's that open about it and take it on board.
How would you guys fall on that? Let's discuss that. So the choice is to move. Let's say we're there. Let's say the choice is in front of us now, and it came down to a vote. How would you guys go on that?
If it helped the club progress. So, for example, we got a stadium, 50,000 seater stadium, let's say, for argument's sake, that you could hold, let's say, concerts there, outdoor concerts, and somebody could come and pay £1 million to have a concert at Hillsborough. Or wherever the stadium is, it then becomes actually something that it becomes actually making money on non-football days. And I think that's real key to it, is making, not just on a Saturday, every other Saturday for me.
Right.
So I'm open to it.
To a move?
Yes.
Okay, what about you, James?
Personally, I agree in terms of the fact that I love Hillsborough. You've got to bear in mind that one side of the ground is built onto one of the busiest main roads in Sheffield. Two other sides of the ground are built as close as you can to, housing estates that have been there for many years. I personally think that moving stadium is probably inevitable. I just don't know how you are able to redevelop. The whole ground needs redeveloping. It's not just one stand that needs redeveloping. Yeah, we know that the West Stand is in most need, but I always think when you walk up and down the ramp from the top to the lower of the North Stand, and you just stick your head over that and have a look at the back of that stand, and you realise there's about 40 years worth of crap down the back of there. It's a state. It's a mess. There's only probably the South Stand that comes up to any sort of standard at the moment. Redeveloping and rebuilding football stands is not something that you can do in 3 months during the close season.
No, absolutely right.
How you do that, unless you do one stand at a time and you take the hit that you have to say to people, sorry, some people are not going to get a season ticket this year because the North Stand's out of action.
And the North Stand holds 8,000 people. Ain't happening, or how many people it holds.
Yeah, and it'll be more than that, won't it? It'll probably be like, what is it? Maybe 15 in the maybe 10 is it in the North? I don't know. Whatever it might be.
Like that,
if you're losing that number of seats for a season, and that happens every year for 4 years in a row to redevelop one of those stands, is that viable, or do you do what pretty much every other club has now resolved to do, which is it's a lot easier just to be building a new stadium elsewhere?
Yeah. And as much as I love Hillsborough, I'm definitely open to the possibility if it helps us progress.
I think you both surprised me there. Actually, I thought you'd both of you'd go down the route of, well, it's bloody Hillsborough, it's our home, that's where we're staying, that's what we're doing. And you've actually surprised me, because I know a lot of Twitter have been saying that. Actually,
we're modern men. We're change agents.
Yeah. We're open to things. It is cutting your nose off to spite your face, isn't it, to do it? Because the problem is, people complain, why aren't we able to sell that block of seats at the end of the North Stand? And it's because the stadium's just not, it's not up to scratch. They can't get a safety certificate to have that many people in the North Stand because the stand is not good enough to have that many people in it.
And the SAG would have nothing to say about a brand new stadium whatsoever. They would have nowhere to go on that. But hey, it's down the road, isn't it?
I'm kind of torn between the two of it. I think that living in Southampton like I do, and seeing what's happened to the old Dell site, there is some lovely flats on there now. And but I look around at some of the pubs around the area that must have gone, oh my life, this is kind of my livelihood over here now. You know what I mean? There's a pub around the corner called the Winston. That's a privately owned little place, and it's I think for the first season that they went down to St Mary's, there was a bus there that went down there. However, the stadium's not a million miles away from where the other one used to be. It's in walking distance. It's a 30-minute walk. Would it still be in Hillsborough? Do you know what I mean? We don't know, because what I'd hate to have is that god awful situation they've got down at Brighton, where it's a 4-day camel ride on a bloody train that you can't get on or off. You know what I mean? I still want to be able to walk down to the stadium from a still in Sheffield and that sort of thing. I wouldn't want it to be an industrial estate in Worksop, for example.
They're all out of town developments, aren't these new stadiums? Yeah. And I want to say at the edge of town, there's areas. I mean, there's that spoof one about down near Meadow Hall. There's spaces at Ecclesfield, and you know what I mean. There's kind of
Catcliffe, kind of that sort of area jumps to mind, doesn't it? The airport and kind of Sheffield Business Park. There's a ton of land around there, which is just off the Parkway. So you think in terms of getting there from the city centre, quite easy. Getting from the motorway for away fans, quite easy. It all kind of,
as long as it's not in Sheffield too, that's all right.
I came up with a theory about 3 years ago, and my friends laughed at me for this. And I said, why are we not talking to the council about we take part of Hillsborough Park and we build a new football stadium on it, and in return we then once the current football stadium is not down, we pay for that to be turned into some kind of really fancy state of the art sporting complex or whatever to replace the bit of Hillsborough Park that we take. And my mates were like, no way, that'll never happen, that's a stupid idea. And I still stand by it. I still say, if we want to stay close to where we are now, Hillsborough Park is massive, and it doesn't need to be that big. They could lose part of that park if they're going to gain a better facility out the other side of it.
If you've ever been to Liverpool and Everton, they literally got Stanley Park in between the two of them, and they talked at one point about actually having a joint stadium or just Liverpool owning a stadium, but in Stanley Park, and doing exactly what you just said there. So, yeah, it makes sense. It ticks boxes for me.
Anyway, I guess we'll see on that front, won't we? So if you do want to catch up with what was talked about at the steering group meeting, thewednesdayweek.co.uk, you can read the news piece from that meeting, and hopefully many more meetings in the future, and we'll bring you all the gossip as and when we hear about it. Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121. Let's talk other Wednesday news from this week, and to be fair, there isn't very much. One thing that was really nice to see was our ongoing partnership with the Children's Hospital. Now, some of the players went along to the Children's Hospital this week, where I think they're building some new wards, aren't they? And I'm right in thinking
a new wing on it.
Basically. That the first team players have agreed to donate their wages from the Cardiff game on Friday, so 90 minutes of their salary they will all be donating to the appeal, which you think 90 minutes of someone's salary, that's not very much. When it's footballers and when there's an entire team of them, that's a decent amount of money, and that's a really nice gesture.
Nice. It's about as much as I earn in a year, that I think. 90 minutes for someone, especially for Fletcher.
It's probably more, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's nice. We've talked about this before, haven't we? About how the club's going in a certain direction, but not losing touch with the community.
I think the best photo I saw from the whole thing had to be Glenn Lugans with the young Sheffield United girl.
Yeah.
I think, and then somebody tweeted, this is your club, this is what you're doing, and there was Billy Sharp there saying, we want to get promoted so we can beat Wednesday twice, and then on the other hand is, it don't matter, look how ill this girl is, and I'm glad we're putting something back into the community, and I think that genuinely showed a great contrast between the two clubs for me.
Yeah, just stay in your own house. That's you've got promoted. Yeah, whatever. Just look after your own stuff, and we worry about you. We worry about us.
I honestly think that's about it for Wednesday news this week. I can't really think of anything else. The only other kind of story that's been knocking about is about the fact that it's Carlos's 100th game coming up, which has prompted all kinds of different stats and this, that, and the other. And I'm going to mention one, which is that Carlos. We've sort of talked about this before. Carlos has the third best ever win percentage of Sheffield Wednesday managers, and the best since Vic Buckingham in 1964 with his win percentage, which is not a bad stat all in all, considering the fact that some fans will tell you is the worst manager we've ever had.
I think it's a bit of a false statistic, though. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Do you know what I mean? I think you've got a completely different era of football there. You're in a different level. You're not in the top tier. We're in the second, and we've spent 30 million more quid than Vic ever did. You know what I mean? I think it's. But
you can still only either win, draw, or lose games, can't you? Yeah, there were no more games to win in the 60s than there are now.
Yeah, but they didn't get Premier League's Jordan Rhodes or whatever the bloody hell, whoever they bought then. I think don't get me wrong. I think it's a great stat, but given the funds that have been put into the club and the support that the club gets, when we, that's why we've been so pissed off for years, is because we pay our money and nothing ever seems to get any better. But given the money that's gone into the club, he should be getting that amount of wins, if not more.
I see that miserable fanny arse Fudge is back out then.
Well, we'd all agreed on
we got
the
through
stadium.
half an hour, but
he should be winning more. And like I said earlier on at the start of the show, glass half full. We're in the playoffs. Glass half empty. We are in exactly the same place we were a year ago. Exactly. We haven't moved anywhere and spent 30 million quid.
Let's move on before we have another Fudgism.
Shut up, bloody whinging, man.
Right, Easter weekend coming up.
Be an happy clapper.
Easter weekend coming up. Whoever we play, they're going to be two huge games. 5 games to go. We're 6th in the league. But there really are two very big games for very different reasons, aren't they? So Friday is the visit of Cardiff. Good old Colin Wanker. Back in Sheffield, been playing his mind games this week by tipping Wednesday as the team that he thinks will go up in the playoffs. He's a clever sod, isn't he? I honestly think that this will probably be a harder game than Newcastle in terms of the fact that Cardiff will come. We talked about it earlier. They'll be happy to park the bus, but he will get their players seriously fired up for this, won't he?
I don't think Cardiff need firing up to play us. Did we not single-handedly cost them promotion a few years ago? So they hate us already, and they've got Colin in charge as well. With and this time he's got no eyebrows. So he is going to park the bus. He's going to make it very difficult for us. But I think we should go out there and do it against Newcastle and just absolutely try to smash them.
Yeah, absolutely from the off.
So we're going for the gun-ho approach?
Yeah, why not?
Absolutely. Works for me.
Easter Monday, a very different game, but difficult for different reasons. QPR, who have, since Ian Holloway's been there, they've been a bit up and down, haven't they? They had a good run, then a bit of a bad run, at the moment they've won a few of their recent games and seem to be hitting some kind of form. I think the season is done and dusted for them, isn't it? They are, very much kind of a mid-table, mediocre team this season, but it did look for a while like they were going to be a relegation battle. So, it's always difficult going to Loftus Road, isn't it?
Loftus Road is a great old-fashioned stadium. I really like it. It's one of those little, small, tiny, old-school ones, like a mini Hillsborough, as it were.
It's where you can get really close to the opposing fans and wave at them. Yeah, exactly.
Wave at them. Yeah. But Hollowhead went there, and I think he lost something like 8 on the bounce. His record was only bettered by Gianfranco Zola's, which has got to go down in one of the worst appointments in football in history. But yeah. They're capable of getting a spanking, and it's going to be very difficult to G up their players. I would expect nothing less than 3 points from that game.
What about the weekend as a whole, then? What's your? I would guess that our points hope for all of us will be 6 points, but what do you genuinely think we'll take from this weekend?
4.
4 is good, but
6. We need 6. Simple.
Where we are, we need to be looking higher than where we are. We need to be looking up, not down. 6 points, please.
Yeah.
I think we've actually got
4, but I wouldn't be happy with 4.
Yeah, I think we've got harder games to come after this weekend. And I mean, ultimately, we've got 5 games to go. We need to win 5 games, don't we? To be absolutely certain. The fact that we've got Fulham on the last day of the season is fortuitous in the regards that we can actually afford to lose one of those 4 games between now and then and know that it's still in our own hands. But
don't tell them that.
We shouldn't really be thinking that way, should we? I think that's more kind of like the practical side of my brain thinking rather than anything else. I totally agree with you guys. I think that we've got to be aiming for 6 points, and I can't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to take 6 points. We're playing 2 mid-table teams that haven't really got anything to play for. We should be able to outfox them. We should be able to do what needs to be done and just get those wins.
Do you know what I'm more astounded about? That you have a practical side of your brain.
I was going to say, where did you just slip that in? That got away in there, didn't it?
Yeah, a practical side.
I'm a very practical guy. The thing is that you guys only see me when I'm absolutely leathered. Like, Monday to Friday, I run 4 radio stations. I've got a brain. It works sometimes.
Chris Evans now or something.
Right. Well, I think that just about brings us to an end of proceedings. Does anyone have any little bits to drop in for tonight?
No, I was just looking through when you said about there wasn't much news this week. I was just having a quick look. I like news now if you've used that before, which you can. Yeah, so and there's a little bit about Tom Pope, who's been formally charged.
Been told off.
Yeah, he's been told off by FA for being a bit of a dick, which he was. I noticed that, and that's kind of what I've noticed this week in my little bits. That's apart from that now, note.
Dan Fudge?
Oh, I've got nothing going on. I sit around in my pants till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, having got a job the other week. So I literally have nothing going on. I think
you could get a YouTube channel out of this, Fudge.
Well, yeah,
not in your pants, for God's sake.
Yeah, in your pants. Yeah.
Man
Fudge in his pants.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could periscope that at some point.
So did you suggest you should call it Man Fudge in his pants? That just sounds absolutely horrendous. Everything about that statement is wrong.
Yeah, it's something for my large gay following. That's what but all I seem to do is watch repeats of Big Bang Theory and the Goldbergs at the minute. So all I'm doing is walking around talking to the cat. Ignorant sod never speaks back, but I'll be up and around a job centre near you.
Nice. So if we want to see these horrendous videos of you in your pants on Twitter, where are we headed?
Yeah, if you Google Man Fudge Pants, and top hit, I'll be there. Or you can just find me on Twitter at Dan Fudge.
Rich, where are you?
Currently, I'm googling Man Fudge Pants. Is what I'm doing. All right, look at them. There's some cracking pair. Just Google it and have a look what comes up. It's a cracking pair of strikes, them. You can find me at Dickie Owl on Twitter.
If you want to get hold of me, I am at James Marriott. Obviously in the Riverside as ever before the game on Friday, and in London for the QPR game on Monday. If you're around, if you want to say hi, drop us a line. It would be lovely to hear from you. You can always get hold of the podcast on Twitter at TWWcast. You can drop us an email to podcast@thewednesdayweek.co.uk, and I would just like to confirm that under no circumstances should you Google Man Fudge Pants. They actually cost $19.99 for those. Wow.
Yeah, they're a decent pair of slacks. I quite like them. I'm ordering some shortly.
Wow. Yeah, they're not bad. I'm not sure about the ones that are 120 quid though.
No, I wouldn't pay that for any Man Fudge Pants.
They're less good.
I couldn't get a bum cheek in any of them.
Anyway, thank you for your company this evening. Hopefully normal service with Lord Hillsborough will be resumed next week. In the meantime, have a brilliant Easter and we'll see you real soon.